Hello everyone. Hello everyone. It's Hannah. Yeah. So I bring this third quarterly in 2019. The list of the list of these ministering to those in need. The second lesson 2. Yes, here lesson 2. I will read this one before tomorrow. And I will read the next one too, lesson 2, 3, 4. And then I also bring the Korean. So I'll try to read Korean. It will be more the speedily go read. So let's go. Yes. I brought in my garden the rose and this kind of margaret and the geranium. Yeah. And lavender here. This cherry valley is famous of lavender. There are lavender festival too, cherry festival. So the season, there are kind of festival. This one, it comes from last year. My husband's friend brought this bomb, but they all died. But this little one, just live inside the glass. So so precious things. So I wanna show you. This is really hot weather, but I brought them this one from my garden. So they in the water, they just blooming now. Wow, so surprised. Yeah. The lavender still has scent, the fragrance. So fragrance, yeah. So beautiful. My Savior gave us kind of the flourish flowers, the colors, smells, fragrance. Yeah, so good. So on last lesson, there are God created. God created all things as a creator, as a maker. If we agree with our creator is still exists and then takes care of us, then no need any belief, faith. Only we need faith, but if you look around your every around, there are flowers, grass, and even these breathing airs and the waters, the shiny sun. If we don't have light, we cannot live. Even the flowers and our vegetables or the animals like that. So if you believe in God, then you can trust easily. And yes, we have to know. We have concentrate the things, condition. Then we can trust in God, only one God, as a creator, as a maker for us, all of us, include the universe or the stars, planets. Yes, so God, that's why God created, and then God glimpse of creation, and that was memory text was he who oppress the poor. Yeah, still I cannot see you. I see the letters. He who oppresses the poor reproaches his maker, but he who honors him has mercy on the needy. Proverbs 14:31. So he who oppresses and the poor reproaches his maker. If we approach, then we're gonna reproach to our God. So, and God made the complete world and steward. So that's why we we're gonna be a steward of this earth. Yes, and then, but so unfortunately, broken world. We are live in broke on the a broken world. So the family, how do you know the between the family relationship and then your friend relationship or company associate with all other human being? Then we know what's the broken world. The the body, our physical body, the because of loss of stress, get the sick and the sickness, and the our spiritual also hurt. Then our body also get hurt together. So the family web of humanity, if in our family society, we can learn there are a broken world make us um, sick or hurt. But anyway, God is love, His nature, His law is love. It ever has been, it ever will be the high and lofty one that inhabits in eternity, whose ways are everlasting, changes not. With Him is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. So we have to know every manifestation of creative power is an expression of infinite love, the sovereignty of God. Yeah, the worldly sovereign of from the king or president. So not fair, so unfair, but this sovereignty of God involves fullness of blessing to all created beings, or include you and your families too. So if men would their duty as faithful stewards of their Lord's good, there would be no cry for bread, none suffering in the destitution, none naked and in want. It is the unfaithfulness of man that brings about the state of suffering in which humanity is plunged. God has made man his stewards, and he is not to be charged with the sufferings, the misery, the nakedness, and the want of humanity. The Lord has made ample provision for all. Is the last lesson studies, the summary from the welfare ministry and from the Patriarchs and Prophets, page 33 by E.G. White. Yes. And this is blue point of better word. Yeah, this is the key point of this lesson. So blueprint. If you know the blueprint, then you can start easily and then complete easily, filled or every or perfect word. So the better for your better word, you have to know your blueprint. The read for here Exodus 3:7. Yeah, because of save our uh, time. You just read this Bible verse, and then memory text. You shall not take vengeance, nor bear any grudge against the children of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Leviticus 19:18. Yeah, you shall not take vengeance. Yeah, you don't need any make your vengeance if you feel unfair, if you have experienced the unfair things. So you shall not take vengeance nor bear any grudge against the children of your people. because of your people. But you shall love your neighbor. It is hard to love your neighbor, but the first you love yourself, because you don't love yourself. So that's why you don't love others too. So God told a lady to, before 2,500 ago, or just 6,000 ago, yeah, the no bear any grudge against the children of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord. Lord said already about this, almost from the Eden of Garden of Eden, Eden of God. Yeah. And Leviticus 19:18. Sometimes I switch it, like the praise and the kind of you know sentence, or the in His mercy, God has always had people with whom He has maintained a special relationship in the stories of Enoch, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, among others. We see God yearning to reveal the broken relationship with human beings, but this was not to reveal the but this was not benefit for the benefit of these few individuals and their families. When they were connected with God and blessed by Him, it was part of a larger plan to repair the relationship and share the blessing with others. As God said to Abraham, I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you, or your peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Genesis 12:2 and 3. As he was blessed, he could be a blessing to others. Why Abram? Because God knows his time and on the human history. So that time, the Abram was the is essentially God needs. So that's why He chose the Abram. If you are there, then God, God will choose you. Yeah, I will make you into a great nation. Like the Abram is you accept you are the pre ancestors, not just the Israel ancestor, or the whole world people related with Adam and Eve, and then under the lineage, we related with God, Jesus too, because God, omnipotent God and omnipresent God, and then He can do everything. So we even God created all the whole world. So how can you don't trust in God? So that's why we need kind of the understanding, then acknowledgement. So He will make you into a great nation, and He will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Genesis 12. If you go to the Genesis 12:2 and 3, as he was blessed, he could be a blessing to others. He has to, but this blessing was to come through the nation of Israel, and ultimately the Messiah who would come from that nation. With the creation of the people of Israel, God was now working with an entire nation. So he set about giving them laws. Yeah, it's really important to laws and regulations, festivals, and the practice that would be a way to live so that those who were blessed by God would be able to bless others as well. No doubt, these principles still exist today. Yeah, the in you can yeah you can look around your country under your government. We need rule and regulations and the constitution. Yeah, between the human relationship, we need the two more people. They need kind of rule, the especially love. Yeah. So who the God who hears. The second Sunday, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. Exodus 3:7. For 100 years is a long time to wait, especially when waiting in conditions of increasingly harsh slavery. God had promised that He would return to His people and bring them out of Egypt, but for generation after generation, they were left to build the wealth and prestige of their idol, idol, idolatrous, idol, idolatrous, oppressors. Yeah, I needed to practice lots of times. Idol, idolatrous. Yeah, prestige of their idolatrous oppressors, and all the while God seemed silent. Then God manifested Himself in a unique way. He appeared in a out burning bush out in the remote desert to an unlikely leader, a fugitive prince and humble shepherd named Moses. He gave the reluctant Moses a job to do, a job to do, and the first part of that job was to go back to the Israelites in Egypt with the message that God had heard and seen their oppression, yeah, and yes, He did care. In fact, He was about to do something to change their situation dramatically. Read Exodus 3:16, 17. Why was it important for God to begin outlining His plan for these people with this specific message? What catches your attention about this statement from God? Yes, let's read 3:16, 17, Exodus. But God does not stop here. Not only does He have a plan for a better land, He does not intend for the people to escape from Egypt destitute. For hundreds of years, they had contributed to the wealth of the Egyptian empire. God foreshowed the initial resistance from Pharaoh, their years of hard labor, and I will make the Egyptians favorably disposed toward these people, so that when you leave, you will not go empty-handed. Exodus 3:21. After their years of oppression, God took the opportunity to establish a new kind of society. With these former slaves, He wanted them to live in a different way, and to establish a society that would continue to be sustainable and viable. His plan was that that this new kind of society would be a model for the surrounding nations, and like Abraham, that the blessings they received from God also would bless the whole world. How important is it to you that God is a God who sees the suffering of people in the world and hears their cries for help? What does this tell you about God? Consider Exodus chapter 4, verse 41. Yeah. And Monday, the Ten Commandments. The previous time I read quickly, then my energy is so down like a leopard. So, leopard. Then the big animal just to quickly go, then their energy down. Then they are not the I forget not vegetarian power. The Ten Commandments. Read Matthew 22, 37 through 40, then Exodus 21 through 17. How does Jesus' summary of the commandments help your understanding as you read each of the 10 commandments? The 10 commandments read like a constitution after preamble, brief preamble, a brief preamble, and sets out the bias on which these statements are made. In this case, the fact of God's deliverance of his people, the document lists the core principles on which the nation is founded. In this case, because the hand gesture will be good for me, so that's why. Sometimes the hand motion is good for good action. And then it is little wonder that in this case there was specific commands about God. Human beings could best live out or their love for God and love for each other. It is little wonder that many nations with a Christian heritage have drawn the bias of their laws from these guiding principles. I have to make some because it's so inconvenient. So why many of these? Because I'm a YouTuber, I want to make the good video. So that's why I'm trying to focus to the eyes of the camera and then just read. But this is the big letters. But I want to make the motion too. Then why many of this is really good. So if I read and read, I didn't practice ever, just reading, because if I just read, it's so boring. So I cannot read through book and go. When I just read the book, I cannot page over just one or two page. So that's why I choose. If I just use the streaming, then you watch me. So that's why, though you don't, and nobody just watch my video, I just keep going the end of the page, the time. So that's why I always read here. So sometimes when I read, I'm just concentrated. Then I can more understand where. Sometimes I do not concentrate. I'm just, just reading. But if I have time, I'm just hear my voice. Through my voice, I can just repeat. So that's why my purpose. Someday I gonna watch or just listen of my voice. Why? Why just my voice? More intimate, and my at least my family, my kids, just maybe one time watch in my after my life. Yes, so that's why you try too. It is so funny, and then you just left your you know mm, step. While many of these statements are brief, we should not underestimate un, underestimate the breadth of their impact. Breadth of breadth, breadth or breadth, ain't breadth of their impact and the comprehensiveness of the Ten Commandments as the law of life. For example, the sixth commandment, you shall not murder, Exodus 20:13, summarizes and includes all acts of injustice that tend to shorten life, as well as selfish neglect of caring for the needy or suffering. Patriarchs and Prophets, pages 308. Similarly, the prohibition against stealing, see Exodus 20:15, condemns slave dealing and forbids wars of conquest. It requires the payment of just death or wages, as well as prohibiting every attempt to advantage oneself by the ignorance, weakness, or misfortune of another. Patriarchs and Prophets, pages 309. We can easily tell ourselves that we are not bad people. For example, if we are doing okay, but when Jesus talked about the commandments, he made it clear that the commandments are not fulfilled simply by not doing a few specific acts. Rather, our thoughts, motivations, and even failure to do things we know we should can break the law of God. See Matthew chapter 5, verse 21 through 30. So imagine a society in which each of the Ten Commandments was taken seriously and lived out fully. It would be an active, vibrant society in which everyone enthusiastically acted on their love for God by loving and caring for one another. Why do we tend to read the Ten Commandments narrowly, often ignoring the broader applications of these important principles to our lives? Why is the narrower reading easier to follow in practice? Tuesday, slaves, widows, fatherless, foreigners. Read Exodus 23, verse 9. What is God's message to Israel here? Yeah, this one is the second one. You can go to the Bible verse and this one. Yeah, you can see the Bible verse too, or reading one more time. Read Exodus 23:9. What is God's message to Israel here? As newly freed slaves, the Israelites knew what it was to be oppressed, exploited, and marginalized. Marginalized, and while they celebrated their freedom, God was concerned that they not forget where they had come from, what it was like to be excluded, and what He had done to rescue them. He instituted the Passover as a memorial event and an opportunity to retell the story. With a mighty hand, the Lord brought us out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. Exodus 13:14. Read Exodus 22, verse 21 through 23. Uh, how important was how important was the memory of their own slavery in the instructions about how the people should treat the least fortunate in their new society. Barely, yeah, the how important was the memory of their own slavery in the instructions about how the people should treat the least fortunate in their new society. Barely had the echoes died away after the giving of the Ten Commandments, when Moses is called to spend more time with God, who gives him detailed instructions as to how these grand commands should be lived out in Israelite society, even before the instructions for building the tabernacle. God gives 3 chapters of laws about such things as the appropriate treatment of slaves, laws that would have stood out in stark contrast to the treatment many of the Israelites had experienced. There were laws dealing with violent crimes, laws related to property, laws for everyday living, and principles for establishing courts to implement these laws and to administer justice. See Exodus 21 to 23. The prominent among these laws was a concern for fellow citizens in this new society, as well as concern for the outsiders and those most vulnerable. These people were not to be exploited. They were even given rights to access food in ways that would respect their dignity, such as cleaning uh, leftover crops from the harvest fields. Such treatment for outsiders and foreigners was not common in the ancient world. Even today, some seem to forget the important moral principles found here regarding the treatment of others. What memory in your experience makes you more compassionate and concerned about the suffering or injustice of others? Yeah, what memory? Yeah, we have those kind of memories. Experience makes me more compassionate and concerned about the suffering or injustice of others. We have the get the we have uh, gave that kind of experience, but we have got we we got kind of those experience together. And Wednesday, second tithing. Many Christians recognize and follow the Bible's instruction regarding paying or returning tithe. usually referenced from Malachi 3:10. It is a simple formula with believers giving 10% of their income or increase to support the work of the church in spreading the gospel. Entrusted with these tithes, churches usually have strict guidelines about how to use these funds primarily applying them to support the direct ministry and evangelism. Read Deuteronomy 14:22 through 29. In these instructions, what is the primary purpose of tithing? The temptation is to think we have fulfilled our giving when we give that 10%, but the instructions given to the Israelites suggest that the 10% figure was a starting point. Studies suggest that an ancient Israelite living and giving according to the guidelines in the Levitical laws would on average give almost one-fourth of the year's income to the work of God to support the priest and sanctuary and to help the poor. Some scholars describe this giving particularly to support the foreigners, orphans, and widows as a second tithe. It is obvious that people were to enjoy the results of their work and to celebrate their harvest. God promised to bless them, particularly in their new land, but they were not to take that blessing for granted or to forget those who were not so blessed. In regular years, this portion of the harvest was to be brought to the sanctuary and shared from here. But every third year, there was to be a special focus on sharing their blessing in their own community. In these harvest celebrations, there was a special focus on those who might easily have been overlooked or forgotten. You shall give it to the Levite, the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow, so that they may eat in your towns and be satisfied. Deuteronomy 26:12. According to God's instructions, at least some portion of the Israelites' giving was to be focused on providing financial and practical assistance to those who most needed it. Again, this was based on the people's memory and appreciation of how God had been merciful and just to them. Read Deuteronomy 26:1 through 12. What is the Lord saying to them? How should we apply this to our own attitude toward giving to those in need? Yeah, I'm so sleepy now, but yeah, only 2 pages left. So we will try to go to the year of Jubilee. Yeah, though there are Jubilee system for the Christian, but I didn't try to make my Jubilee. But God gave me, if I remind, yeah, God gave me Jubilee. So more, I don't know more exact Jubilee, but the Jews, yeah, have this Jubilee. In Korea, I heard on last week, there are one politician make he's a professor, but he wants to be a politician. So he wants to stay in the famous university, and he wants to still run his, political leader and get all the money from here and there. So sorry for that. Actually, at the end of his day, I wonder there are what the left still with him. Yeah, the year of Jubilee, meeting the Israelites as people who had no home of their own and who were waiting for their arrival in the promised land. God knew the importance that the land would take on as they established their new society in Canaan. Under the leadership of Joshua, God oversaw an orderly distribution of the land by tribe and family groups. But he also knew that over time the wealth, opportunity, and the resources that were connected with land holding would tend to become concentrated in the hands of the few. Family difficulties, ill health, poor choice, and other misfortune might cause some landholders to sell their lands for short-term gain or simply to survive. But this would mean the family might be dispossessed for successive generations. God's solution was to decree that the land could never be sold absolutely. Instead, the land would be sold only until the next year of Jubilee, at which time the land would revert, revert to its allotted family, and any land sold could be redeemed by the seller or another member of the seller's family at any time. Again, God reminds the people of their relationship to Him and how that affects their relationships with others. The land must not be sold permanently because the land is mine, and you reside in my land as foreigners and strangers. Leviticus 25:23. Read Leviticus 25, 8 to 30, 23. How do you imagine society would be different if these principles were applied, especially the words "you shall not oppress one another"? The regulations that God established were designed to promote social equality. The provisions of the sabbatical year and the jubilee would, in a great measure, set right that which is during the interval had gone wrong in the social and political economy of the nation. Patriarchs and Prophets, page 534, by Ellen White. And Bible historians are unsure as to whether these economic and social rhythms were ever fully followed for any significant period of time. Second Chronicles 36:21. Even so, these rules offer an intriguing glimpse into how the world might work if God's laws were fully followed. Moreover, they underline God's particular concern for the poor and the marginalized, as well as his concern that fairness be manifested in practical ways in our world. Yes, in our world. The year of Jubilee. That's for the people too. And last one, Friday, a further thought, the law given to Israel. The God's Care for the Poor in Patriarchs and Prophets by Ellen White. Uh, yes, yeah, the book. Usually use the Bible commentary and Bible and the prophetic prophets Ellen G. White book. Lots of Ellen G. White books, almost 2,000 more, and in all most uh, of libraries has this. Libraries have this, Ellen G. White books. So if you read the main book, the Desire of Ages, so you can understand more about Jesus. There is nothing there is nothing after their recognition of the claims of God that more distinguishes the laws given by Moses than the liberal, tender, and the hospitable spirit enjoined toward the poor. Although God had promised greatly to bless his people, it was not his design that poverty should be wholly unknown among them. He declared that the poor should never cease out of the land. There would ever be those among his people who would call into exercise their sympathy, tenderness, and benevolence. Then, as now, persons were subject to misfortune, sickness, and the loss of property. Yet, so long as they followed the instruction given by God, there were no beggars among them, neither any who suffered for food. Patriarchs and Prophets, page 550, 530, 531. These regulations were designed to bless the rich no less than the poor. They would restrain avarice, 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 and disposition for self-exaltation, and would cultivate a noble spirit of benevolence, and by fostering goodwill and confidence between all classes. They would promote social order and the stability of government. We are all woven together in the great web of humanity, great web of humanity, and whatever we can do to benefit and uplift others will reflect in blessing upon ourselves. Page same PP 534-35 by Ellen White. Discussion questions. This is the last. Uh, three discussion questions. One of the blueprint God gave to Moses and the Israelites for the kind of society they were to establish. What feature, law, or regulation most catches your attention? Whether it be specifically mentioned in this week's study or from your wider reading. Two, why do you think God seems so focused on the most vulnerable in the laws he gave to his people? Wow, number three, yeah, just 49 minutes. How should we understand and relate to these laws today? How do we choose which of these are applicable and relevant to us today? What is the most important thing we can learn from these these detailed instructions as to how the Israelites were to order their society and lives. summary. Yeah, this gonna be a lesson 2 summary. So let's do that here. God heard. Yeah, get the water. Thank you. God heard the cries of the suffering people of Israel in Egypt and intervened to rescue them. He sought to build a special covenant relationship with them and to work with them to establish a new society that would be a blessing to all, and even those who often forgotten, marginalized, and vulnerable. Marginalized and vulnerable. Even those often forgot. Yeah, I did it. Good job. Yes. I'm so proud of to read all the lessons. Then I'm so happy. So that's why I'm so happy. So that's why I'm reading. You watch or not, but I'm so happy after I, read the book or the booklets. So I wanna read all of these lessons 13. One quarterly, the each books has the 13 lessons, or sometimes the 14 because of the month more long week. The more long week has the sometimes maybe 4 years, 14 lessons, and then every quarter is really famous professional uh, pastor or professors, or yeah, like people just studied and make the. So this will be this gonna be a text of university, college, or the undergraduate course. So this is really good. If I just 10 more time read, I gonna be a more smarter. But instead of smarter, I wanna get wisdom to understand people, to understand God by Holy Spirit. So thank you for need to reading outside. Then I can speak with you more easily, more freely. So maybe someday I want to read and then discuss. Not just discuss, just talk with you. Yeah, like a dialogue style conversation. Yeah, this is inside the story here. I love to read this inside the story. The others' experience will be lift up me, grow up me, improve of my faith. Faith is just trusting God. The every seconds I need, but sometimes we just go into our life with family, with church members, to forget. Actually, we just have to talk with God, talk with Jesus. Yeah, man with crooked stick, but we have to have experience with our human being. Then we can get through those experience more. We just grow up on to understand God. So God knows everything of us, but we just prepare our homework of this life. These lives. Man with crooked stick. Little bit small letter. By Wilson Messapog. Wilson Messapog. Indian villagers. Wilson Messapog here. Yeah, this comes from Executive Secretary of the Seventh-day Adventist Church's Southern Asia Division, whose territory includes India. Dr. Deodoro R. Place was a medical missionary who headed the Adventist World Church's medical work from 1947 until his retirement in 1966. He died in 1977 at the age of 80. That's why my husband was born 1947, but he still looked young, so I was surprised. Yeah, but he died. Yeah, the Indian villagers faced constant trouble from an intruding tiger. Intruding tiger, the wild animal crept by night into Guam Medhavaram, remote village with no electricity on a mountainside in India's uh, Andhra Pradesh state. And the Andhra Pradesh state. The villagers dependent upon goats, cows, and birds to produce milk and cultivate crops. Yeah, sorry for it. More pretty side. The red one is so. That's why, yeah, I'm gonna show you red. Oh, so pretty, huh? Yes. Two red. Two scholar. A scholar. Yeah, one day, a tall white man with a crooked stick arrived on horseback. He spoke the local Telugu language, and the villagers stared at his crooked stick. When the stick coughed, animals went to sleep permanently. Coughed. Animals went to sleep permanently. The villagers learned that the man was an American named Dr. Theodore R. Place. He had opened a small hospital in the Nutsvid, 30 miles, 50 kilometers away from the village, and a training school for workers in Narasapam, 110 miles, 180 kilometers away. When he wanted to rest from his work, he hunted on their mountain. He donated the game to the villagers. One Saturday, he sat in the shade of a village tree, removed his coat, and sang songs. When the villagers asked what he was singing, he explained that he was worshiping the Creator God. We want to see the Creator God. The villagers said. The white man opened the black book and read aloud about the Creator God. As the tiger problem grew, the village elders won a promise from the white man to help. They tied the goat a tree trunk in the village center. In the branches, they built a platform where the white man could sleep. That night, they tied the rope to his leg and retreated to their house to keep watch. In the night darkness, a large tiger approached. The watching villagers jerked the string, waking up the white man. He caused his crooked stick to cough. The tiger, however, was only wounded and fled. Later, the tiger returned, was shot, and fled again. After several attempts, the tiger was shot dead. After that, the friendship between Dr. Flage and the villagers grew greatly, and a small Seventh-day Adventist congregation was established. One of the first converts, a young man who had helped tie and go to the tree and kept watch at night, was Sundarao, my father. He was baptized in 1955. Today, Guadam Mahabaram is an Adventist village. It has produced 40 pastors and Bible workers and many educators and health professionals. On Saturdays, the whole village comes to a halt to worship the Creator God. Wow, so surprise things happened in this village. So man with crooked stick. Yes. So that's why. So thank you for this 1 hour already gone. So maybe tomorrow I will try to read the Sabbath or Day of Freedom. Tomorrow, the next Saturday. Yeah. So I will try to read two or three if my energy still, my body condition is good, then I will read more quickly. And then I want to read the Korean too. Yeah. Thank you. I'm so exhausted. I will control my body, so relaxed. After that, that's why I will read again. On last year, maybe I moved to here. This my house. I have time. I had time, so I read during the 6 month. But at the time, I tried to lots of books, the 3 or 4 times in a day, or 2 hours. So it's so exhausted my body condition, body. So now I gonna control just to 30 or 1 hour still. So that's why I phrase it instead of reading. Yeah, I want to phrase it also, but I don't know exactly the songs. But though I don't know song well, I can read like this. So it's good for me. That's also 10 or 20 times more I can sing well. So thank you, my happy families. So may God bless you. So be the list of these ministering to those in need. So because of human human loves, it had human knows what's the love we have to share to others. So I need to share my love to others because of Jesus, show us. So we want to amplify, copy him. Thank you. Bye. See you then.